Hi, my name is Mandi Ellefson, and my company is Hands Off CEO. We help owners scale their consulting agency or service-based business, making more by working less. And there are so many things that you'd like to implement in the business to grow. But you're so busy keeping things afloat that you can't fully implement the strategies that would take your growth to a new level. And the reason for this is this entrapment growth model that we predominantly find inside 6- and 7-figure consulting agencies and service businesses. And it's keeping their founders locked into their business with very little time to focus on driving growth. Now let's face it, going further isn't as easy as it seems. And let me show you why. According to a report by US Bank, 82% of businesses fail due to cash flow challenges. And let me show you this entrapment growth model cycle that is prevalent in the vast majority of service-based businesses that have not yet been able to break past the $5 million level, and even some beyond that. So as you're watching this, I want you to take note of which parts of the entrapment growth model cycle that you can relate with. So first, this sales growth happens, yay, right? So now the team gets overwhelmed though, and then you get pulled back into projects, and now you go to hire, and maybe you don't quite have the capital to hire exactly who you want, so your hiring process really takes a long time because you don't want to hire the wrong person and be in a worse off place than you are now. Meanwhile, you spend hours screening and hoping that you'll be able to find that right person and get some relief. So now you have a choice, quality or profit. And it's such a hard decision. But to preserve cash flow and profit, you choose profit, and then you find yourself doing or redoing work that pulls you further into the day-to-day. But all this leads to cash flow dropping, and then you feverishly going back to working on the business, and there are so many opportunities for you to go after, but it still takes your time and focus. And you wait. And you wait for the sales cycle to catch up, and then the sales growth happens, and the cycle starts all over again. So which parts of this entrapment growth model can you relate to? Probably all of it, right? You think that this is going to get better as your company grows, but this cycle can actually get worse because the stakes only get higher. And so does your stress levels. See, there's not enough profit and cash flow in your business to scale. So it creates this exhausting cycle above where you are pulled in to make all the difference, and this is happening all over your business. What I want you to know is that you're not alone and you're not crazy. We've seen this for hundreds of different high-ticket service-based companies, and this entrapment model is leading you feeling like a tired workhorse by the end of the week because the business is completely dependent on you. You have a great team that supports you, but it still is too much to sustainably carry on your own. Now let's look at this cycle and how it's impacting your income growth so that you can begin to see how to break free. So this green dot represents the income level you want to reach. Notice the red line that represents your time. So what do you notice? We'll see how you can only increase income by working more hours. What it creates is this gap right here that we call the capacity gap. And this is what you're experiencing right now. So we need to find a way to disconnect the direct correlation of growth in your company to your time. So this is very personal for me because this is the story of my family. I watched my dad work so hard to build his business, but the overwork and the stress led to a mild heart attack in his 50s. Now, fortunately, at this point, he had enough momentum. He could cash out and he could sell his share of the business, right? He could cash in on his success and kind of sail into the sunset, but my dad was lucky. But a lot of business owners aren't that lucky. And I watched him trade his health and well-being for building his business, and it's really not necessary. It really doesn't need to happen that way. You don't have to work insane hours, destroy your health, dilute quality, or commoditize your service in order to scale profits. I want you to see that following this entrapment growth model is a very risky way to grow, and you don't have to do that anymore. It gets dramatically better just as soon as you change your approach. So let's look at this better, faster way to scale growth. Introducing the Scale to Freedom model. So this allows you to double growth, make more, working less by installing 5 key profit drivers that make your service more sellable, scalable, and profitable to deliver. So the first step is to find time now. So in this step, we free up 10 hours per week to focus on growth and have you work on the business instead of in it. And then from there, step 2 is really building this predictable, scalable growth map. And what this does is strategically focus your team to drive sustainable profits. So what that does now is allow us to get into the real meat. And this brings us to step 3, where we create this irresistible service product. So we create sustainable, scalable growth by focusing on your most impactful services. And we will develop and design your client success map. Then you can increase fees and still experience an increase in conversions. So this is the key to doubling your profits and making your service sustainable. sustainable so that you can actually finance your own growth. It's also the missing link for hiring effective salespeople. So next, we create a scalable delivery system in step 4. This is where we work with your team to streamline the service and deliver your promise with ease. And we do that by creating systems for 80% of the repeatable work that's made possible from step 3. And then we create flexible frameworks for the remaining 20% of the magic that allows you to consistently create such amazing client results. We need to be able to scale that magic in order to generate higher quality as you scale. So we create this profitable people plan then to attract your top level talent who build your business to profitably run without you. And this leads us finally to hands-off growth. Now this is where you're able to focus the majority of your time on accelerating profit streams and leading growth and the fine-tuning that's needed to scale to 10 million. And even if that's not your final destination, you have options. You have a sellable business, you have a cash cow business that can generate profits without you and improving quality while having oversight and peace of mind, while knowing that you have a team of leaders to run your business and expand your vision to a higher level. Now, you're probably thinking right now, this looks like a lot of work, and this is going to be really painful. So this is exactly what Jamie thought too. But he found the opposite was true. First, we discovered a huge profit leak and that a shocking 30% of his business was not profitable. And we came up with a plan, and they were able to implement that within 30 days, and it was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars of profit to his business. Then we created this irresistible service product and client success map, and that's allowed them to attract, adding multiple millions of dollars to his business valuation. And he was out for over a month of this process while his team was running it, allowing him the peace of mind, time, and space to care for his injured wife. And that's not all. Jamie actually leads 2 successful businesses, and he works way less than 40 hours per week total. And he takes weeks off whenever he wants. Now, this is possible to make more working less. It's really possible for you to scale your consulting agency and not feel trapped. This kind of success is not just available for Jamie. This is a solution you've been looking for, and we can start the conversation today by you applying for a complimentary Scalable Growth diagnostic session to see whether or not we can actually help you achieve these outcomes and whether or not you qualify as a client. The clients we help have businesses that look much different than the Entrapment Growth Model. Philip's company went from $600,000 to $2.1 million in the first 12 months. His life totally changed, and he was able to do this only because he was working less. 20 hours less per week, in fact. Most people think you have to work harder to scale, but that is wrong. You actually have to follow the right plan and get the right mentorship so that you can avoid years of expensive and stressful trial and error. Philip has done that, and 4 years later, he's at over $4 million and just added an extra $400,000 of profit last year. This is the kind of life that is possible for you. But right now, you keep getting busier and busier. Your responsibilities grow, your payroll grows, and you're not making much more for all the extra risk and headaches. And maybe your health is even beginning to suffer. One thing you know for sure, you do not want to be running a business that's just paying employees. You want all the time, all the sweat, the tears, the sleepless nights to be building a legacy, to be building an asset that can become a luxurious retirement, either next year or next decade. This is what my dad did, but he had to sacrifice his health and well-being to do it. And it's really unnecessary. The Scale to Freedom model is your key to experiencing meaningful and impactful growth while having a great quality of life. Imagine 6 months from now having bigger margins, doubling your profit growth, building leaders who run your company, who can read your mind, and who are 3 steps ahead of you. Imagine making more money, working less, and ultimately having a business that works for you rather than you working for it. If you are already generating between $500,000 and $5 million in revenue, you definitely want to take advantage of this opportunity. And what we will do together is look at what it will take to add between 50 and 100% profit growth to your business in the next 12 to 18 months. The next step is to book a time. So click the red button below to go to our calendar and schedule a call with one of our growth advisors. And they're going to be able to help you get clarity on your options and see what's really possible for your specific situation so that you can scale to freedom.